This is TWiT.
I got to start with this story because it's just crazy. We've been talking a lot about NFTs of late, non-fungible tokens, and which are in some weird way related to cryptocurrencies and in some weird way related to blockchain. In fact, we've had many explainers over the last 3 weeks, and I still don't really get it. We in fact had Trey Ratcliffe, the very talented photographer, on Wednesday on This Week in Google, because he's doing some NFTs of his work, and I thought, well, maybe he can explain it. No one can explain it. And then the other shoe dropped. This week at Christie's, which is the big auction site for art, a creator of art named Beeple sold one of his JPEGs. It's a digital creation for $69 million. Is it dollars or is it crypto? Well, it's worth $69 million, whatever it is. It is the third largest price paid for a living artist. Beeple is up there now with Jeff Koons and David Hockney. 69. Now, to be fair, $9.3 million went to Christie's, which immediately, I'm sure, turned the Ethereum into American cold hard cash. $60 million of it was bid by an anonymous bidder using a pseudonym, although we think we now know who it is, and I'll explain that in just a second. $60 million. What did you get for the $60 million? Did you get something you can hang on your wall? No. What did you get? You didn't even get the JPEG. I guess you could have the JPEG. You got an address which would give you this JPEG, which, by the way, consists of 5,000 images that Beeple has taken. He does a daily art image over the last, since 2007, whatever that is, 14 years. So, I mean, it's it's kind of the collected works of Beeple. But you don't even really get anything except a thing that says you own it. It can be infinitely reproduced. You can print it. Anybody can print it, but you own it. Only you can own it, and that's affirmed on the blockchain. $60 million. Now, the guy who bought it uses the name Metakovan, but Amy Castor, who I don't know from Adam, but wrote in the blog, and it convinced me that in fact is a crypto entrepreneur who's been on the scene for about 7 years, named Vignesh Sundarasan. And furthermore, Amy Castor kind of explained for the first time to me what's really going on here. So it wasn't Metakovan's own Ethereum that he spent. In effect, he created another crypto bundle called B.20, bought the painting with that, and is selling shares, bits, fractional portions of the Beeple artwork to other people. In other words, step 3, profit. He owns 59% of B.20. Notice who else owns it. Beeple owns a 2% stake. So in effect, Beeple bought his own painting, or part of his own painting. Not that there's any conflict of interest there, or is there? But really, I think if in your mind there is some question, and I'll ask you guys now to comment, but if there in your mind is some question about what the hell is, how could a JPEG be worth $69.3 million, and why would somebody named Metakovan spend that kind of money on a JPEG? It now becomes clear he's going to make money on it, because he's in effect selling shares in this to other people.
Why would anybody buy a share of the JPEG? What would you do with? I mean, the absurd of the whole thing is the idea of owning a piece of it is even harder for me to get my head around.
Well, I guess I could liken it to a Honus Wagner baseball card, which is, on the face of it, a piece of cardboard that's worth absolutely nothing. Except it isn't. It's worth $3 million.
Right. Yep.
Because there's only 9 of them. And I would bet you most of the people who have Honus Wagner cards really weren't Pittsburgh Pirates fans in the 20s. That wasn't what got them to buy that card. They bought that card because they presumed it would go up in value.
Yeah.
Right? It's speculation.
Is this the Beanie Babies of our generation?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, if anybody wants to buy my daughter's Beanie Babies,
Right.
I have a large collection. I never, unfortunately, I'd bring them home and I'd say, "Don't open that. It's worth money." She'd open it, play with it. You've ruined it. You've destroyed it.
Take
good,
photos
you
of
actually
them and
got
turn them
value
into
out of
NFTs.
Have you had occasion to explain, Nicholas, to friends and family members what the hell's going on here? And if you have, what words do you use?
Right. Well, no, I have pitched this story to CR. It is a little obscure. Well, it was until this past
Not
week.
obscure.
I started...
$69 million.
No, I hear you. I hear
worth
you.
more than
I started pitching this NFT stuff maybe about a month ago because I am sort of fascinated by all this cryptocurrency stuff. But yeah, I guess my sort of take is when people ask, friends, families, like, I don't get it. Why would you pay $69 million for a JPEG? It's like, that's fine, sure. But like, I'm not big into, but I'm inside the NBA Top Shop Discord all day, and there are like thousands of people in there who
have you
excited.
Purchased any NBA highlights?
Yes, I'm $10 worth. I haven't even opened the pack yet, to be honest.
What do you get? Oh, I'm really curious. They've spent, by the way, they've sold $200 million worth of NBA highlights. This is the NBA.
Even shocked them. Yeah.
Does some of that money go to the players in the highlight?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know the
200 million.
That. But I kind of liken it to like digital trading cards. It's like it's no different than if I were to play, Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone for World of Warcraft. It's like, oh, I get this card. I think it almost might also be an age thing too, where it's like to a kid, having an NBA highlight on his phone that he could show his friends and that he could say, I own this.
Right.
Whatever that means, it doesn't actually really matter. His friends are impressed by it. He feels cool that he owns it, quote unquote.
Which highlight did you buy? I'm curious, Nicholas.
I didn't even open the packet, to be honest.
You don't even know what you got.
I hope it's a good one, I guess. But yeah, like if kids are into it, if they think it's neat, it's like, I don't know why do I have to like outsmart that kid? He's like, he's having fun. He's, that's fine. That seems okay to me.
Right.
So that's how I try to explain it to people. It's like, it is very weird. It's kind of odd, $69 million. Maybe there's some like greater scheme behind it. There
is a scheme, actually. In this case, there is absolutely.
And this sort of goes back to, there was CryptoKitties in 2017.
Yeah,
where
it's
people
just like
were kind of
CryptoKitties.
trading digital cats.
CryptoKitties is still around, by the way. You could
it's
still
all
buy.
very interesting, and it's all like what's very interesting to me about all this NFT. It's happening now. This is like literally happening in real time. I can go into the NBA Top Shop Discord and see this like unfurling before my eyes.
So what are they in there? Do they say like, anybody want a? I don't know what.
It's everything.
Michael Jordan, nothing but net 3-pointer. Anybody want that? I got it from the 1967. Whatever. So is that kind of stuff? Is that the kind of dialogue?
It's that type of stuff. There's technical complaints. People saying, why does it take so long for it to come? People complaining about bots.
When it comes, what comes? Does something come in the mail?
You go to the website and you go to the little section of the website, and then you get like a digital card pack. Like you said a second ago, you're buying like trading cards.
Right.
It's kind of virtual trading cards.
Oh, so you were able to buy it sight unseen. You don't know what you got.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm going to open the pack.
Is this
if
a
I had the
limited
computer
edition?
configured,
Do you own it? Or
no one else can have that.
You have an exclusive access.
I have
to this.
this is where it does get sort of interesting. It's like I don't own the NBA owns this. This is the NBA's like intellectual property. I think at most you can say is that I have a license to say that this particular instance of this LeBron James play belongs to me. Is that worth $1,000 to me? I don't know, but to the guy who bought it, I guess it is because he paid $1,000 for it.
But belongs is an interesting word.
Right.
Yeah.
Belongs is, so for instance, here's a perfect replication of a Honus Wagner $3 million worth baseball card. I could print this out, put it on a piece of cardboard. I'd have it. It's not worth $3 million because it's not real. So one of the things that happens with NFTs is there is authentication. You can say with authority, this is signed by the NBA. I own whatever this is that I own.
Right. It's sort of likened to like a digital autograph where you could say, okay, this, of course you could just take a screenshot and share it, put it on Twitter, who cares, or whatever the case may be. But this has been kind of authenticated. This has been blessed by, this is digitally signed or autographed. It's imbued with like special characteristics that people get a kick out of, and that's kind of where we are. And people are trying to wrap their heads around, like, I don't understand, why would you even care? It's a valid question, but people do, and I don't know. It's kind of neat, I guess.
I love the word imbued. It's like, yeah, and that boot was imbued with magic by Harry Potter. It's just it's like that.
Yes,
it's imbued in that sense. Well, I'm honored to know that you would spend $5 on an NBA Top Shot.
I think it was 10.
10. Well, all right. Let's be fair.
And I haven't even. I hope they're good. I'm a very casual NBA fan at best, so we'll see.
If you get Steph Curry 3-pointer, I'll buy it for 20. You've doubled your money.
I'll consider it. There's a marketplace, so maybe you'll have to bid with other. Maybe there's a a scramble for that.
Yeah,
card,
if you were smart.
That's kind of the other part of the appeal of it is, like, do you own it? Who do you that's a little hazy, but you do have the right to kind of flip it, where it's like, okay, I've got this LeBron James or Steph Curry play. I'll put it on the NBA Top Shot marketplace, and someone else can buy it. If I paid, let's say, $100 for it, and this person wants to pay $500 for it, well, now I've just made $400. So there is that kind of speculative, get rich quick, and it does feel very, very young. It does feel like a lot of like kids are into this. There's kind of that like flipping culture, or
they were the people who bought GameStop 2 months ago.
Oh yes, it feels like there's a lot of overlap between that type of person who get rich quick. This is kind of fun, weird internet stuff. Which is probably why you struggle to see kind of like mainstream outlets explain what this is, because this is like weird internet culture, young people doing stuff that we don't quite understand.
You just don't get it, man. You're too old to get it, man. Jason, does this remind you of ICOs and other kind of blockchain related thing? I mean, ICOs kind of got in trouble. Remember initial coin offerings?
It's true. Yeah. Yep. I think it has more legs than ICOs. I think that in this case, this is trying to solve a problem. So the web as we know it was not built for privacy, was not built for exclusivity. Like when we look at a web page, when we look at an image or a video, we're not looking at the original, right? It's always copies. We're constantly downloading copies. That's how the web was architected. And so that has a number of challenges around transferring value. So that's why blockchain came along and Bitcoin. And this is a similar phenomenon, because in the real world, if you have, if someone owns the Mona Lisa, the Louvre in France owns the Mona Lisa, there are copies of the Mona Lisa everywhere, right? You can buy them very cheaply, but there is only one, and it is, it exists there. You have to go there to see it. People go and pay a lot of money to go all the way to France and then to, go to the Louvre, and they want to see that one, even though it looks just like, as a matter of fact, the ones that you've seen 1,000 other places, right? Why is that? Right. Because people place a certain value on the one-of-a-kindness of it. Right. And this is the digital version of that one-of-a-kindness, using cryptography, using blockchain technology to create this one-of-a-kindness around digital assets. And so, just as you said, there's certain types of valuable, the non-fungible. Fungible is a word we don't use very often, but fungible just means like transferable, right? So a fungible asset is like my $20 bill and your $20 bill, Leo. They're worth the same. We could switch them, and the value is exactly the same. But that's a fungible asset. A non-fungible asset is one where I have a Beanie Baby and you have the Beanie Babies, and mine's worth $5 and yours is worth $500, or my baseball card's worth 20 cents, and the one you've got the Honus Wagner, which is worth millions. And so, the value of these things is like anything, that they don't really have any intrinsic value other than, in some sense, supply and demand, but then also just how much people value them, and the value of those things changes over time. So I think it's just a big way of saying we're going to see lots of this. And I think we're at the very beginning, and it is going to be super interesting to watch. There's going to be people that make money. There's going to be people who lose a lot of money. One of the other things that we hadn't talked about that's kind of interesting is the idea of selling digital real estate. And so if you remember, I'm sure everybody on this call remembers Second Life, right? There was like,
oh yeah,
remember Second Life? Yeah. Well, now there are other versions of that where like Earth 2, so earth2.io, one of my colleagues was telling me about this week, where you can go and literally buy property in Earth 2. And the interesting thing is, even people are buying all kinds of things on there. And it's even just in the past few months, the base value is doubled. It used to be $25 per kind of block. Like to buy my house in my yard is like 4 blocks. So now it's $50 per block. So it would cost me $200 to buy my house essentially in Earth 2. And anybody can go on there and do it. And people are already buying, stadiums and famous, landmarks and all of this. I was like, well, you know what? I'll go in there and I'll buy the shopping center. There's like this one really nice shopping center, shopping area here in Louisville where I am. And I was like, well, I'll get that because that could actually, if this ends up taking off, it could be worth value. It would be like 30 grand for me to buy.
It's like playing Monopoly. Okay. It's like Monopoly, Boardwalk and Park Place, right?
It's right. It's right. Yeah. So it's really interesting to
charge rent
look at this
people
phenomenon.
Visit your shopping center.
Yeah. Well, exactly, in your shopping center.
It really does. What it does is makes you think about, well, what do these words mean? Belong, and ownership, and tangible versus intangible, fungible versus. What do these words mean? And why do we ascribe value to some things and others? Larry, I think our generation looks at this and says, "No, I don't want to even think about it. This is you crazy kids because it's nuts."
If you talk about it, I have a record collection. I used to buy records. Now, I didn't own the copyright to, the Rubber
But you owned the vinyl.
I owned the vinyl. Now, I can't remember the last time I paid money. I just pay my $10 a month to Spotify and get all my music. But does that devalue the music because you don't have to go out? It certainly devalues it in my mind, in a sense. I remember when, it was a lot of money at the time. I would save up my money as a teen.
Ironically,
buy these albums. And
music has become fungible.
Yeah.
Ironically.
But the other thing is, if you think about diamonds, why are diamonds so expensive?
That's made up. It's completely made up. There is an industrial value to diamonds, but it turns out synthetic diamonds are just as, in fact, maybe even more so industrially.
That's what I figured.
Who's talking?
Siri.
Siri said that's what I figured. Okay, Siri.
Yeah, I don't know.
Siri has an opinion on this, apparently. That's in fact, of course, as we know, De Beers worked very hard to create artificial scarcity,
right?
So that diamonds would be worth something.
And of course, I have artwork I have some signed prints, 1 of 20, 1 of 100, and you have to trust that the artist doesn't actually run off more because there's who would know, but there's always been a market in that. In print,
it is tempting for a certain generation, and I'll put Larry and me in that generation, to say, "Oh, this is just those crazy digital kids."
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with a real work and a dollar's pay for a dollar's work and all that. And
get off my virtual.
And yet, frankly, money has always been this way. Money's made up. A dollar bill has no intrinsic value. It's only because we say it does.
That to me is also what's sorry to cut you. It's also that it's connected to blockchain and all these cryptocurrencies. We've had Bitcoin has been around roughly for 10 years and sort of like mainstream news coverage. And why is that worth anything? Why? Well, because people have decided that it's worth something,
right?
And if you try to have a conversation with someone who refuses to meet you halfway and be like, well, I don't get it. This is weird. It's like, okay, that's fine. But some number of people have decided that Bitcoin is worth roughly $60,000 today.
That's what's amazing.
There you go.
It's gone up. In fact, I laughed when Elon Musk's Tesla bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. They made $1 billion on that investment already. If they sold today, the question is it going up more or is it going to plummet and no one knows because it's pure speculation.